All right, man. This is a brand new episode. How'd we get here? Another spooky episode. And I gotta say, man, that music that you picked is really disconcerting, man. That like whatever that thing is, it kind of like makes my bones tingle, man. Like the
Well,
eerie sound there.
I know YouTube is kind of touchy about so I took a song, played it backwards, laid another song over it, and put a distortion through it. So that way it's kind of like an original song.
Like some spooky vaporwave. Okay, that so I thought you stole that off of like a creepy sounds thing because it like legit kind of sounds like something that like you'd get
Well,
like a Halloween like.
yeah, I did take it from I went and found some. You never know when it says royalty free and all that shit. So I kind of ran filters through it and changed it up, played it backwards, sped it up, and layered another kind of sound effect over it. So yeah,
The noises make me think of the Mothman having an orgy, man. That's kind of like the visual that pops into my mind. There's like a bunch of bugs doing it, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
kind of Colin Bunn's book Regression, you know what I mean? Some bug horror.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it is a little weird. It is kind of spooky, so yeah.
It's definitely an uncomfortable noise, man. I'll give you that. Like you.
Yeah.
So, man, we're doing another spooky episode. This is our first comic book one we've actually gotten around to doing, and like this is a couple of our favorite shorts that we're doing today. So what are we talking about, Joe?
We're going to be doing. They did another Hellboy, but this time we'll be talking about a comic. Did a bunch of short stories for Hellboy in Mexico. So they did originally the one shot Hellboy in Mexico. Then that was with Richard Corben on art, and then they did another kind of like a one shot, but more like a novella, I guess you'd call it. It's about 60 pages. Another one with Richard Corben that continues that story. And then they did, I think, a bunch of shorter, 10-page stories with a bunch of different creators to fill in stories of Hellboy. Because what was it? He disappeared for 5 months in Mexico.
5 months, and he doesn't even really remember what he did because he was drinking so much. But they basically they sent him down because there was just a bunch of brutal murders going on, and the agency went with got scared, so he stayed down there, and it was just kind of like this drunken period in 1956 that just like this lost summer of Hellboy's life that Del Toro, that Mignola likes to go back to and play with constantly, kind of with some of his buddies.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I enjoyed it. Richard Corben does the art, so it's fantastic. And all the short stories, he gets a bunch of different people. I'll bring those title screens up as we go. So yeah.
But before we get into that, man, you have a check-in, Joe. You said I forget. Said you were going to talk about something when we talked about comics this week.
Yeah, and I just remembered it now.
Okay, cool.
So, do you have a check-in?
Not really, no.
Oh, no? Okay, so I'm going to load these pictures up real quick, but we did have something we were going to...
I guess I can fill time with something while you upload pictures. Like, I tried to watch that Grotesquerie show, or Grotesquerie.
Yes. And?
Don't like it.
Yeah, we got... Pat and I watched it. We got... how many episodes in? I think the first 3. Really enjoyed the first 3.
I couldn't get into it from jump, man. Like every time they try to be disturbing, which is often on the show, it's just silly.
Yeah, a little. It can be. I mean,
no, with everything, with the daughter overeating, with the spanky mugs, and especially the nurse trying to steal her husband that's in a coma. That is the funniest subplot. Like I don't know if that's supposed to be as funny as I find it, but like I made about 4 episodes in, and like that shit was just killing me, man. Like,
they explain it. It's because she had an affair with the husband before he was in the hospital.
I'm sure, but like it's still such a dumb subplot, bro.
No, but I'm just saying to explain why she's not just some deranged nurse, you know.
Ryan Murphy, like I don't know if he just took the paycheck on this, but like, or he's actually has fallen off. But like the dude, like American Horror Story used to actually be a pretty good show, man. I used to enjoy his work, and I was really disappointed with this, to tell you the truth. I got to where it should have been interesting, but like I don't really like the nun character. I think the actress plays her isn't very good, and like when they're in the desert with the open fire pits everywhere, that should have been a really interesting episode, and it wasn't, man. Like that's when I was just kind of like, yeah, this show's just not going to work really for me.
Yeah, well, that happens.
Yeah, it does. But you've kind of fell off with it too, so.
Yeah, well, it got to like where you go see where the pit of hell is and stuff, and it got weird. I mean, the episode itself was interesting, but I mean, I don't know. I would have liked it if they would have kept with the serial killer thing and all that, and like the ritualistic murders.
Yeah, they tried to put too much into it, right?
Yeah, like just like streamline it a little more, like yeah, it's like they're trying too hard to do too much. I don't know. It was like I totally love the murder aspect of it, like the killings, what they represent in the Bible and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They would have stuck with that, then would have been more into it, but Pat completely fell off when they went to the desert, found the hole. I guess that goes to hell, maybe. They're not sure. Then everyone's acting crazy like they're possessed. And it just really didn't fit with the rest of the show. And then when Travis Kelce shows up, I mean, is that his name? The one who's with the
football player guy?
Yeah.
I didn't even get to where he showed up.
Yeah, Pat's like, isn't that Travis Kelce? And I was like,
no. I'm glad I quit.
I went and checked on IMDb, and I was like, damn, it is Travis Kelce. I was like, I look at Pat and said, I didn't know you're such a Swiftie. You could tell who her boyfriend was right away.
Well, I probably would know him too, because like he's been all over the news. Just like how I know like who Taylor Swift and like Chappell Roan is. Like I they weren't all over the news all the time. I wouldn't really know them either.
Yeah, I guess. But I went and checked, and he's not the best actor in the world either. So
well, he's a football player. Like most athletes kind of are, like they're hella rah and in your face, but like you can try to get them to act, and they can't do it, man.
He got big Gronk vibes.
Yeah.
Like Gronkowski. Just a big goof.
Yeah. Well, there's worse things to come off as, so
yeah.
But all right, man, what you got?
Another check-in is Pat and I watched the DreamWorks, their new movie. What was it called? The Wild Robot.
Oh yeah, was that as sad as it looked? Because it looked like it could be really cute, but it looked like it was going to be sad as hell.
Really, really cute. Then at the end, it's sad.
Yeah, I knew it.
It was fun. DreamWorks is pretty good.
It looked really adorable, though, man. It just looked like it was going to get you, and I figured it would. Yeah,
it's pretty good. Pretty good. We enjoyed it. So, if anyone's looking for a fun animation to watch, that's that one was fun. I enjoyed it. All right, so I read 2 comics from. Here we go. Prairie Gods, issue 2. Well, that's issue 2 and issue 1. So this is it's not exactly an anthology, but it's kind of weird. Like, how is it described? It's kind of like they described it as Twilight Zone meets. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone-y, but out in the sticks in the desert. Like the first issue here is this guy who does like these races, and then he ends up racing the devil on one of those like in the background you see the guy with the mask and stuff. That's the devil.
Yeah.
And he's an old retired racer, and then he takes out his muscle car and races the devil, right? And that was pretty fun. And then you have this one. This is published by Mad Cave. Then you have he's the sheriff in the town, and I think he has supernatural powers because people shoot at him and it doesn't hurt him. And he always has like this evil grin, but he's not really evil per se. He's evil with bad people, but if you're like pure of good of heart, he doesn't really bother with you, I guess. But it's weird. It's still ominous. You don't know exactly what's going on. And then his story was he went after this guy who was on the run. He stole a truck and went out in the desert. So then he gets on a horse and goes out into the desert to try to find him. And all this weird shit happens with like a ghost and stuff. So
sounds cool. It sounds like some Joe R. Lansdale horror.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It definitely has those horror vibes to it, and it's really fun. The art style is really cool. It's got that. You can see that what you see on the covers is exactly what's inside.
Cool.
Looks
Yeah,
exactly the same.
Mad Cave's on fire right now with some of their titles.
And just to let's see, the writer artist is Shane Connery Volk. People will know him from another Mad Cave title. That's where he got his coming out party was for Nottingham.
Okay.
So he write and wrote this, wrote, colored this, and he had Becca Carey do the lettering, I believe, is what she did. Yeah. And so far, there's 2 issues. I think issue 2 just dropped last week. So, yeah. So I gave that a read. I remember seeing it on Instagram and stuff, and it looked interesting. So, and I believe this guy's a Canadian guy from Calgary or something like that, from out west. So,
over by Adrian.
Yeah, over by Adrian, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so that's what I read. I figure it fit the spooky season kind of criteria.
Yeah, if you're looking for another cool horror comic to read from Mad Cave, I highly recommend Morning Star by DB Andre. Like that's a pretty cool, like also kind of Twilight Zoney, but like it takes place in the 50s, and like it's about this mom who like is raising their kids who after her fireman husband dies, and like they go out to the woods, and like this kind of I don't even know how to like supernatural stuff happens, and it's really interesting, man. Like it's really cool. I like DB Andrews stuff. Like he did a Resonant for Vault, which is probably like the best horror book they put out. So yeah, it was really good to see him working again on something horror, and yeah, so cool. I think that one's just about done. I think there's 1 issue left for that.
Have Cookie in the chats. Hey, Cookie. Hope you had fun at Comic-Con.
That's right, man.
Yeah, New York Comic-Con. She's a vet. She goes every year. So does Dean. And I think Juan made a second appearance at Comic-Con.
Yeah, Juanito.
He went a couple years ago, and he went back this year and met up with the gang. So that hopefully that was fun. Everyone had a good time. And we have one other thing. Yeah, you want to do it now before we get into the Hellboy?
Yeah, the shout out for James.
Yeah, James Edward Clark has a book running on Kickstarter called Evil, and I told him when we did the Hellboy Mexico, we had run. He has a little promo clip. We'll run the promo clip. I think Johnny dropped the link in the chats and in the description. There'll be a link for the Kickstarter that you can click to go and back the Kickstarter. So we'll run the because the book definitely has similar vibes and ties in well to Hellboy in Mexico because there's a lot of luchador in it. And so we'll run the promo clip for James's Kickstarter, and you guys could go back that. So we'll run the clip now. All right. I clicked the button and...
A or N, all or nothing.
James Edward Clark, the artist who brought you Tales to Enlighten and Pissant Apocalypse, returns once again with Evil Comics. The award-winning 180-page full-color graphic novel, now on Kickstarter. Meet our hero, Sammy Destino, champion of the people, the greatest destructive force on Earth. When the diabolical Space Thunder death cult kidnap his lady love Maria, Sammy has only until midnight to stop the Space Thunder death cult's satanic ritual sacrifice of Maria to demons, fulfilling the prophecy and opening a portal to hell upon the earth. Evil Comics is completed and ready to go to print. The only thing left needed to make it happen is your support. Join our hero, Sammy Destino, as he sets off on a high-octane, outlaw fever dream of an adventure, over 10 years in the making, to save the woman he loves from an unspeakable evil that threatens to consume us all. Back Evil Comics today, now on Kickstarter.
Hell yeah. And that thing is live right now. And there is literally no risk for you at this point. There's only rewards to scoop in and get if you back this book because it is completely done. He's actually released this book before, but like he's a perfectionist, so he went back and redrew a bunch of it for this relaunch. That's all done. It's all ready to print. And the book is funded, so all you have to do now is go throw your money in, and you're guaranteed a copy of this thing. There is no risk at all for you, just rewards to scoop in and grab.
And he has a lot of commissions. He does a lot of commissions. So if you want, there's tiers with commissions, or you can buy original pages. And just to get a taste of James's work, just go on Instagram and go check out James Edward Clark on Instagram, and he pretty much posts all his commissions he does, and they're fantastic. He's a great artist, tells some crazy fun stories. So I mean, you're in for a treat. So I highly recommend people go back this book, and you won't be disappointed. If you already backed Pissant Apocalypse and enjoyed that, or if you checked out Tales to Enlighten, he also worked on that. So if you enjoyed those, then you'll definitely enjoy this one without a doubt.
Well, this one is a little bit more of a traditional narrative because like it is like a hero trying to, save the day, unlike some of his other works. So like, yeah, so this one's a little more accessible, I'd say, than his other works. So like,
but it still had that violent,
definitely,
violence and everything. So he doesn't stray away from that. That's so don't worry about that. It's not, it's definitely for mature readers book.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's James's Kickstarter. Go click the link, go back that, and help support a great book. Highly recommend. All right, so let's get into it. We're getting into our first comic for spooky season that we selected. Will be Hellboy's Adventures in Mexico. So we start off with the one shot, which is Hellboy in Mexico, drawn by James Corben.
Richard
Corben. Sorry, I got James on the brain after watching that intro. Yeah, I don't know if he does everything or if he does the colors, because I know at one point I think Dave Stewart does the colors, but he might have colored this one himself. I'm not sure, but yeah. So he's on the art duties, and the story starts with Abe, Sapien, and Hellboy are on a mission in Mexico.
Yeah, Dave
check something out, and they stumble upon a house right out in the desert.
Well, pretty much they're in the middle of nowhere, and they're waiting for their transport, and Abe's just like, well, let's get out of the sun, and like they go to this old gas station, and like Abe finds the Virgin Mary here with all the clippings,
with all the different pictures and stuff, and then he spots a picture of Hellboy with 3 luchadors. And he's like, what the hell is this? So he asks Hellboy, and Hellboy has a bit of a dejected look on his face, and then he gets into the story of what that picture is all about. And he talks about back in 1956, while he was in Mexico, he ran into these 3 brothers who were luchadors. And these 3 brothers, after a wrestling match, would go pray at church, and they found this priest dead at one of the churches they were going to go pray at. And so when they prayed, they got, some kind of enlightened message or something that they had a greater purpose. So then they decided to start fighting. I think I might have them in the wrong order here. So then they decided to start fighting the evils of the world. And so Hellboy teamed up with them to fight monsters like Hellboy does in all his adventures, his paranormal adventures. And he befriended one of the brothers he really hit it off with was Esteban. So he and Esteban always partied it up after a successful mission of killing evil creatures. So one night, after many nights of just fighting evil creatures and beings and entities, Esteban got up from a stupor, having to take a leak. So he goes outside, and he gets attacked by all these creatures. Like, what are they? They're like vampiric creatures.
Yeah, well, like they were fighting all types out there. There was
Mm-hmm.
witches, vampires, werewolves. Like Hellboy says, like they were just taking on anything. So yeah, I guess they just all teamed up, type of thing.
So like he gets out there, they attack him, and then he disappears. So when they wake up, they don't know where he is. They just something happened. They see the trail of blood, and then so Hellboy and the two other brothers still go on adventures trying to find the brother, and they fall upon this poster clippings with the Kamazots, and telling Hellboy to meet them at the Mayan temple for if they want to get Esteban back. And in this, you can tell it's Esteban because of the tattoo on the chest that Esteban had. So, yeah. So they go down, find the Mayan temple
pyramid,
yeah, and then so Hellboy's like, all right, I guess I got to do this, right? Smoking his cigarette like he usually does, or his cigar, or whatever it is. It goes in, and there's a ring waiting for them, and there's the Esteban character, Hellboy, and they have to square off in the ring, and they have this big bout, back and forth, bang, bang, slam, body slams, elbows, pile drivers, jumps off the top rope, you name it. They're going at it, and Esteban reveals to Hellboy what these creatures did to him. So they turned him into some vampire bat-looking creature. And then Hellboy, upon seeing that, is beyond himself, and he goes after Esteban and impales him on the post for the turnbuckles for the ropes. And then Esteban, as he's dying, turns back to his human form and thanks Hellboy for putting him out of his misery so he can move on and be at peace in the next life. And then that's when Hellboy goes on a bender, and the BP RD go and find him just passed out in a drunken stupor, to bring him back home after 5 months. And that's how the first one shot ends. And then that's where the short stories come in and kind of fills in the gap of what he was doing. And what was the other one? House of the Dead?
House of the Living Dead. Yeah, it's kind of like the end cap.
That fills in the 6 months before this final, because between that last part where he kills Esteban and where the BPRD actually come and find him, there's all kinds of stuff that happens, and that's what the following stories kind of encapsulate what those 5 months entailed. And if you'll recognize this story if you've watched the third Hellboy, because this was actually one of the opening sequences of the third Hellboy movie, where he fights Esteban, and they stayed pretty true to it. He fights him. The only difference is he wasn't like
he wasn't a wrestler already. He was
an agent. He was an agent for the BPRD that Hellboy was really good friends with. That's the main difference that they switched.
Well, and they wrestle in a regular wrestling ring. It's not in a Mayan temple.
Yeah, with regular fans. It's not monsters and creatures as the fans. Yeah. But he does switch. Well, that's not in the right order. But he does switch into the vampire creature.
Into Kamazots, yeah.
Into Kamazots. So, they kept it pretty. And I think this is maybe a 15-minute part in the movie. So it's more to introduce David Arbor as the new Hellboy character. This is like the first scenes you see him in.
Yeah.
He's talking on the phone with his what do you call him? The father, his father.
Yeah, Professor Broom.
Professor Broom, who is played by
Ian McShane.
Ian McShane in this version. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the sequence. That's the story that inspired that whole sequence in the Hellboy, the third Hellboy movie. And that's a fun little story. Richard Corben does a fantastic job with the art.
Yeah, and they do a good job of keeping it like they're really fun little jaunts, but like they're also kind of emotional too.
Mhm.
Like so they're nice. They've got nice little stingers to them. Like
Yeah.
really, really, really good, well-rounded, old style weird comics. You know what I mean?
And it stays to like the Hellboy curse, right? Anyone he's close to, like tragedy happens, kind of like a little bit like Constantine and Hellblazer, except Hellboy's more of a good guy.
Yeah. Well,
than
we'll get
honest.
into it. We'll get into it when we talk about the end of House of the Living Dead, because the end of that's pretty, yeah. So
Yeah, which is our next one is House of the Living Dead by Mike Mignola and Richard Corben. So Richard Corben's back on art duties for this one. And it starts off in a desert scene, back to the little house out in the middle of nowhere with the Saint Mary statue with a picture of Hellboy with the three wrestling brothers. Yeah. And then you see the poster from the Camazotes. And then, all of a sudden, there's this new poster. So this takes place after the whole one shot of Hellboy in Mexico. So you see Hellboy actually becomes a luchador and he starts wrestling. And he's a fan favorite. People love him.
and so did the other wrestlers. He's like,
Yeah, he gets
everybody's
along.
buddy.
Well, he's a fun guy. Hellboy's a good, like, no nonsense kind of fella, you know? So, and he always gets these flashbacks of Esteban, right? He can't shake it. He is really good buddies with him, and Hellboy doesn't have too many friends, so when he does make a friend, he cherishes it, right? So this whole Esteban thing really haunts him to this day. Then this guy, Raul, is it Raul his name, right?
Yeah, Raul.
Yeah, comes up to him and says, like, I have a proposition for you. I need help. I need you to help me save this girl. Sonia,
yeah.
Sonia from these people. So he tries to convince Hellboy to help him, and then reluctantly Hellboy does help him. So they drive off from the town up through the desert into this mansion, a house. When he walks in, you see there's like a lab. It looks like a mad scientist lab. He's walking through. You see like projects and stuff. Then he comes into the big room where there's a ring.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff Corben does in this book too, is like the failed experiments, the other
Yeah, I didn't put that other clip, but you can see on there that he's got like the body, the anatomy and stuff in there.
Well, they show a lot of them when they're running away at the end when it's on fires, where you get to see a lot of the really good shots of them.
Yeah. What, like the failed his failed experiments come back to life. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
And so he comes in and there's like this Frankenstein figure standing in the middle of a ring. And now Hellboy's kind of he's wise to what's going on, and obviously he's like, crap. Got myself into another situation, right? As Hellboy does.
Those nipples, man.
Yeah, it's like
Every time
saggy
I
old
read
lady. Saggy old lady. It's a saggy. Frankenstein has saggy old lady tits. Look, even the guys there think it's funny.
Yeah.
They're even laughing. That's why they shock him to perk up his tits. They put some electricity through him to perk up those saggy man boobs. Yeah. So then the mad scientist, Doctor, what's his name? Doctor. Anyway, it's a doctor. He's the one who lures him here because he says
Juan Luis Cabron, I think is what it is.
Dr. Cabron. Yeah. And he's he thinks he has the strongest, the best fighter in the world for the ring. And so his ploy is, if Hellboy gets in the ring to fight him, then he could save this Sonia, which you see. That's Topo, you said is his name? The little hunchback. Yeah. His servant, Topo, drags out Sonia from some back room to show Hellboy that she's there, still alive. So basically, Hellboy has to fight Frankenstein in the ring, wrestle Frankenstein to save Sonia. So he gets in there because, he doesn't feel like he has much choice. So he gets in there, starts fighting him. And, Frankenstein's not doing much. Then he comes to life. And you see Topo and the mad scientist kind of getting angry that the creature's not doing anything. Then he fights back, starts handing Hellboy his ass. Then they do a little flash of the mad scientist to these demons came, and he was saying, my fighter can beat all of you. He's like, not us. There is one that would be a worthy opponent. And they're alluding to Hellboy, right? So they set these little devil demon creatures set up Hellboy by putting the doctor onto Hellboy's whereabouts and what he's doing, being a wrestler and stuff. So
and they pretty much told the doctor like he's going to be hella popular in hell, like if he beats Hellboy.
Yeah. So then that's the flashback to give context on how this doctor found out about Hellboy. So then you go back and Topo wants the Frankenstein creature to kill Hellboy, but he doesn't really want to kill Hellboy. He's just, he was fighting back because Hellboy was punching him, but he's not a killer. So then Topo takes a whip, starts whipping him, telling him, kill him. And then the Frankenstein creature doesn't take too kindly to being whipped by Topo and makes several Topos out of him, ripping him apart. Throws him up into the, what do you call those, electrodes or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. Tesla coils, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, coils, the electrical coils. Zap! You see the little demon enjoying the show that they kind of...
instigated,
Yeah. They devised, their little plan is working, so they're enjoying the show. So when he flies up in there, it sets fire to the mansion, the house. And then you see the Frankenstein creature turns on Dr. I forget his last name, but the doctor, the mad scientist, follows him into the back. And then you don't see him, but you can hear him scream because you have Raoul and Sonia that are in the back room. They can hear the mad scientist screaming. So Sonia's like, I know you're a good person. I know you're not bad. Just free me. And he's like, well, I owe so much to the doctor. And you don't know why at this point. He doesn't explain. He just says he owes a debt to the doctor. But
because he's got a condition. He has a
condition. Yeah, his condition. Yeah. So the doctor helped him with his condition. So he does, because he is a good guy in the end. He's not really a bad guy. So he unties Sonia. And in the other part, you see the building's on fire. Hellboy's trying to escape as well. And as he's escaping, you see all these failed experiments, right? And then, they come to life, grab Hellboy. So then he's got to fight off all the failed experiments that the mad scientist had. You see one of them has a monkey wrench for a hand. You see the stitching and everything, so Hellboy has to fight them. In the meantime, Raoul and Sonia get outside, and she's so grateful. She's crying, thank you. Then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. So you look. Oh, what's this? A full moon? What's wrong? Raoul starts changing. Oh! So he turns into the werewolf, and Sonia's like, fuck. She takes off running for her life, afraid that Raoul's going to get her. She finds this crypt, runs into the crypt to go hide. There's a tomb in there. So she's in there hiding from Raoul. Raoul shows up, which I don't understand why he needs a gun, but he pulls a gun.
Well, because he's got the gun for himself. He says it after he
has silver bullets. Yeah. But at this point, I mean, I don't know why he just doesn't let Sonia go. Anyway, I don't know if he shoots her on purpose or by accident. Then Hellboy manages to get out, saw them running in the distance, gets there, but too late, tackles Raoul, but it's too late. Sonia's already been shot, which leads to her blood splattering onto the figure that was in the tomb in the crypt.
Oh, she pulled the sword out of his chest too. He had a silver sword.
To try to defend herself. Yeah. You see here, there was a sword that she pulled out. Well, when she first gets in the crypt, you see there's a sword sticking out of the body. So that's what she grabs to try to protect herself from Raoul, werewolf Raoul. So when she gets shot, her blood falls onto the open wound of the corpse. And it's not just any corpse, it's a vampire corpse. So he's like, yes, I am alive once more. Then Hellboy's like, oh no, Sonia. And then he's like, just nonchalantly just grabs the sword, bloop, kills him again, like it was nothing. That part always makes me laugh. Just like this Dracula character gets what, 3 panels?
Yeah,
he's dead.
Yeah.
Great death scene though, with like the steam. Like I like the way he makes him die, where it's like all smoky and steamy. Yeah, pretty cool. Next we have Raoul starts changing back. This is where he explains the silver bullets were really meant for him, but anyway, so he's please forgive me. Hellboy's hoping Sonya can pull through. Then this mist fog starts pouring out of other tombs at the inside the crypt. So Hellboy starts walking out with Sonya, and you see the mist starts filling up the crypt, and it's these vampiric lady creatures,
the brides of Dracula.
And I don't know if they have some kind of psychic powers where they can go in and read your thoughts. So then they start poking around in Hellboy's head, and Esteban, or they were maybe it. Well, they're probably connected, right? Because Esteban was turned by some kind of vampiric creature.
Well, yeah. They're fucking with him, saying like, "Oh, you weren't able to save her, just like you weren't able to save him."
Esteban, yeah. So they're fucking with Hellboy in his head and stuff, and trying to, and it's working, So they show like what happened to him when he got attacked, and you weren't there for me, and they're trying to make Hellboy get lost in his despair. So as they're fighting him and attacking him, is that Raoul that kind of reveals the cross, right? In his dying.
Yeah, Raoul in his dying, he throws holy water on the cross and does the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in Spanish. And
it's his dying act of heroism, which anyway, he killed Sonya anyway. So yeah, I guess it's better late than never. But anyway, so he activates the cross, which in turn, whoosh, kills the brides of Dracula, but at the same time sets the crypt on fire. So then once they're gone, then Esteban's kind of like, you tried, right? It's not your fault, you tried. I mean, like, kind of reassuring Hellboy that it's not his fault that he fell victim to these vampires, because, I mean, let's face it, when you're fighting creatures of the night, there are risks involved. So
yeah, I mean, it's letting them know that like your the people that die that you don't save, they still know that you tried.
Yeah. And then I don't know if this is the house or the crypt. I'm assuming it's the crypt that crumbles from the fire.
I think it's all the same structure, kind of, man. All this shit was like at the mad scientist's house. Like he had well, because if you ever watched like the old Universal monster team up movies, man, when Dracula would fight Frankenstein and stuff like that, they'd all end up like at the same place like that, and like it would be like this too, where the monsters never really interacted with each other.
Yeah,
like so, like I think that's really what Mignola and Corben were kind of
going for.
Playing with this.
Yeah. So anyway, the structure from all the fighting, the fire, everything collapses, and that's it. So Hellboy leaves. Finds another isolated building out in the middle of the desert, walks in, ding, ding. And what is it? It's a bar. Looks at the barkeep, make it 2. Because Psyche-titted Frankenstein's with me. So he drinks the night away with Frankenstein. Wakes up from his stupor. And realizes, like in many Hellboy books, a lot of his drinking buddies are dead people that just they don't really explain exactly what all that's about, but he often drinks with dead people and has conversations. And you see the scenes where when he's drunk, they're all alive. And then when he wakes up from being drunk, then he realizes he was just sitting with a bunch of dead people getting drunk. So it's like kind of a psychology, like his psyche playing tricks with him from him trying to deal with all the shit he's been through. Then when he leaves the bar, he sees the
ghost funeral taking Sonya to the cemetery
for Sonya. He witnesses that, and that's when he comes out You want to live the life of a man, so you'll live the life of a man, but you'll never be a man. Reminding him always, all these creatures always reminding him, Hellboy, of what he really is.
And no matter what, like no matter what good he does, he's always going to end up in the jail that was made for him, man. He's going to have to go to hell and fucking eventually, you know what I mean?
So then you see him walking with the poncho and a beer in his hand. Then you see Sonia's grave. And I'm assuming this is the last story before the BPRD find him passed out at that table, because he's dressed in the same outfit that you see at the end of the Hellboy in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then the following, you have 3 short stories that I think were printed in Dark Horse Presents, I believe, in some form or another. Some of them were, some of them weren't. It depends which ones, but if you read it, this came from Hellboy in Mexico. It's a collected trade with all these stories together. So the first one we have is a short story, Hellboy versus the Aztec Mummy. So it's Mike Mignola on art duties. You have Dave Stewart on colors, and Clem Robbins as a letterer. And
this one is not even 10 pages. This is a really, really short one, right?
Maybe 8 pages, 6 to 8 pages.
Yeah, but it's really fun. Like,
Hellboy's walking and the mummy attacks him. You got a bat creature that's after him. Anyway, so I just picked one page that kind of.
It's a little false advertising because there's not too much of the mummy in it. It's kind of more him fighting with actual Mayan god. He's fighting with Quetzalcoatl and Hepsacoatl, or however you say their names.
Those little creatures, fight him, and then the bat creature shows up too.
Those are actual Mayan gods that he's fighting with. So in which he fights with kind of in this more than he fights with the actual mummy.
The mummy, he whacks in the head, cracks the mask, and this is what happens. Oh crap! Puts a curse on him or something. So I just selected one page from each of the short stories, kind of without getting into it, because they're short stories, right? So if I was to pick panels, and I mean, pretty much would have to show you every page from start to finish. So So the next one is Hellboy Gets Married. And if you read the regular Hellboy series, when he goes to hell, his bride shows up. And if you haven't read this, then you don't really know where it came from. But this is the story where it originated from. So you have Mike Mignola, who does the story. Then he's a fan of this guy, Mick McMahon. And he was super happy to get this guy on art duties for this story. You have Dave Stewart on colors again, and Clem Robbins as the letterer. And so I decided just to pull Frankenstein and his bride getting married.
And these are like conquistador vampire, like vampire people, and like I this is out of the short ones. This was probably my favorite one. Like this one actually was a total blast, and I got to agree with Mignola. I really like the art in this. Pretty fun.
Yeah, he picks his art as well, I find. Next, we have the Coffin Man. Kind of not unlike the Crooked Man. You got Mike Mignola, who does the story, but mainly he did the idea, and he let Fabio Moon and Gabriel Bob run with it. He just had a vague idea, because if you get the trade, he kind of gives a little synopsis, a recap of how these stories came to be. So when he got the brothers here, he was like, oh, this would be excellent for them. He said, I had an idea and I just let them run with it. And he let them, so this is a 2-parter. Fabio draws the first part, and Gabriel does the second part. You have Dave Stewart on colors and Clem Robbins once again on art. And I picked,
hey, they need to continue with this. They need to bring this fucker back up, because like they don't reach a conclusion with either the parts to this. And like I think that it'd be really interesting to see if Hellboy ran back into this guy. Because
so I took a page just that shows you the Coffin Man, give you an idea, because you've seen Hellboy a lot and stuff. So he picks up a body. He's basically a character that steals freshly buried bodies, freshly laid corpses, people to rest, and he goes and revives them. And and Hellboy, the second part has a little encounter directly with the Coffin Man, and there's a funny thing that the Coffin Man does to him. That you'll have to go read the story to see.
Yeah. It's a great panel, though.
Yeah. I should have taken one from the second part too.
Yeah.
With, Gabriel's art, but so I think that trade is about 160 pages total.
Yeah.
So all those stories run for about 160 pages total. And,
it's a normal Hellboy trade size, I think.
Yeah, it adds up to being about 5 issues total, right? So 4 or 5 issues total. So that's fun stuff, man. Richard Corben. You get it, which is great. You get a little bit of everything, right? You get some Mignola stories where he drew it. You have Richard Corben drawn to the major chunk of it. Then you have a bunch for the little mini stories. You have a bunch of.
Well, then you also get to see Hellboy fight like all the classic monsters in these stories. You know what I mean? That's
Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein.
For as shortly as they do appear, which is funny because, like I said, in some of the old movies that like they would do that with, the monsters would barely appear in them too. You know what I mean? And they wouldn't like fight each other. So it's kind of funny that I think they did a great job, but like paying homage, but like making fun of them at the same time. Like,
yeah, we'll be touching on another book that kind of does the same thing as well.
Oh yeah, coming up in the near future where we talk about you talk about Tales of Terror by Carlos Trio and Eduardo Rizzo.
Yeah, we'll be doing another spooky episode with we'll be pairing that with another Hellboy book, the Midnight Circus.
Yeah, the one about little Hellboy. That's a cute little story, pretty much.
Yeah,
I guess it's kind of spooky too, but like
it's got that freak circus, kind of vibe to it.
But Midnight Circus is kind of a little more like one that you could read with your kids.
So that's Hellboy in Mexico, man. It's a good read. Any fans of Hellboy, if you haven't read this one yet, I mean, there isn't a bad Hellboy story, right? Hellboy is kind of like pizza, even when it's still pretty good.
I don't think of a bad one. I guess maybe what was that one that they did that looked like it was drawn in crayon, like color crayon? Like it was like Hellboy Jr. comic. That one looked dumb. I didn't actually read it to see if it was though.
That was the more recent one, that they put out,
like 2019 or something like that.
Yeah, right around the pandemic or just before the pandemic.
Yeah,
young.
Like I didn't think that looked cool, but like I don't know if it was bad or not.
I haven't read that either.
But I mean, like I absolutely love the lore and everything that goes into these books, and and it's always fun to cover this stuff because like Hellboy is like one of these things where like I guess there is like a bigger picture, but like if you read him, like you can pick up pretty much any of his arcs and just read them though, you know what I mean, and not have to worry too much about being lost about what's going on because it'll catch you up really quick with what is pertinent to that story. And like that's what I like about a lot of Dark Horse books. It's like Usagi Yojimbo is another book that does that, where you can like literally pick up any arc of Usagi and just be able to read it, you know what I mean? And I wish that more creators would do that, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of a lost art in comics right now, is to be able to like not have to worry about jump on points, you know what I mean?
Exactly, where you could just pick it up from anywhere and run with it. But the story, the Coffin Man, if you read the little part, he was inspired by some Brazilian movie series called what was it called? Stories would be related with standalone. Okay, Coffin Man. The Coffin Joe film series. It's some Brazilian film series called Coffin Joe. Brazilian Coffin Joe. Yeah.
Cool. Are they supposed to be brutal or what?
I don't know. He doesn't get into too much detail, but he says the Coffin Man was kind of inspired by by that. So if you want to get into a little more, you can go try to find these Brazilian Coffin Joe films. Yeah, and you'll get a little more background onto what helped inspire the Coffin Man.
Right on.
Yeah, and the Brujo is the Mexican witches and warlocks and stuff. He was inspired by that. So,
oh yeah, well, I mean, he's from Northern California and he's Latino himself. So like, yeah, he's really good at doing the lores, right?
yeah.
But like, you read the whole thing. Like he does a lot of different cultures' lores throughout the run of Hellboy, and like he's always so respectful. That's kind of another thing that I like about Hellboy is like if somebody believes in it somewhere in the world, like it's an actual thing that exists in Hellboy's universe. You know what I mean? Like I know like a lot of people and a lot of the movies just focus on like the kind of Judeo-Christian side of but like if no matter what you believe in, like he's had to deal with the Hindu gods, like we're talking about, he was fighting with the Aztec gods. So like I kind of like when books will do that. They don't just try to be like, oh, one philosophy's right. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that's our first comic spooky season episode.
Yeah, man. We got a couple more coming. We're hoping to do a review of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees with the whole crew that was on the original episode, but
we'll see if we can line that up. If not, we'll just do it just if you and I, or anyway, we'll do it anyway. We got the other Hellboy Midnight Circus with the Tales of Terror. We'll be doing an episode on that one, and we'll be doing a big spooky Tuesday, and we'll be doing the first hardcover for Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, man.
Issues 1 to 10. Yeah, we'll be doing Immortal Hulk, which is pretty cool. I mean, it gets more into the horror stuff later into it, like right at the end when they start to get more into the Green Door and all that. But we'll talk about it once we do our episode on that. So that's pretty much the comics we'll be talking about for spooky season. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So what do we got planned next? I'm not sure. I know for sure on Wednesday, if they're doing it, we'll be on Phono. Like we're gonna be doing like a haunted house, choose your own adventure thing that Els got set up. That should be a lot of fun. So you guys are around on Wednesday, check that out. We'll probably have something for you guys Tuesday.
Tuesday or Thursday. Definitely we'll get something lined up for Saturday. We were talking about doing a Critters Ghoulies double feature, which we got to get that lined up. So we'll probably have that for our next movie, right?
Yeah.
Our next spooky movies series for Halloween season will be our next double feature.
I mean, we also got like Cage Love too planned with Cookie. I don't know if we're going to still do that, but like we're going to do Arcadian and Long Legs, right?
Long Legs, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we got plenty coming out for spooky season, so keep your eyes open for that, y'all. And we got a comment. Cage Love Spooky Edition Cookies down. So hell yeah.
Maybe that'll be this Saturday or maybe Thursday. Or we still have 2 weeks left to Halloween, so we'll fit it in there. We have 2 weeks to do it. That's not bad. The movie episodes are easy. You just have to watch it, make a few small notes, and
yeah.
So the best, yeah, for sure. So, man, everyone, I hope you enjoy your week. I hope you watch some cool spooky movies. Till next time, man.
If you guys got recommendations and stuff you think we should check out, like leave it in the comments. We're always interested in like what we're missing out on. So yeah. So
don't forget James Edward Clark's Evil is on Kickstarter. There's 10 days left, so don't sleep on it. I mean, that'll go by pretty quick, 10 days. The link is in the description. Johnny had also posted the link in the chat, so you could go find the link there. That'll bring you to the Kickstarter page so you can back Evil by James Edward Clark.
Yep.
All right, people. Have a great week.
Later.